Hello everyone, my name is Lacey Maloney and I'm the Vice President of Education for the Gone Wild Toastmasters Club in Kirkland, Washington. I wanted to create a video for some of our newer members and for some of our more experienced members that details out the role of the Toastmaster, because it is a pretty big role. In my opinion, it's the most important role of the meeting because you are indeed the host of the meeting or the host of the party. We always have a lot of fun at our club, so it always seems like a party. Although we do get a lot done, it's a very productive party, but you are in charge. So it's important to go over these things and make sure that you understand the role of Toastmaster. For example, you are responsible for the organization of the meeting. You're responsible for making sure that it's run timely, that things go smoothly, and that everyone has a good time. So I know it sounds like a lot, and it is. Like I said, in my opinion, it's the most important role of the meeting. But we do have systems in place and we do have checklists. So as long as you follow the guidelines and you follow along, you'll be fine. You will be a great Toastmaster, and you won't have to, hopefully with this video, you won't have to stress out about it as much, and you'll have a better understanding of what the role entails. So first of all, I want to talk about what goes on behind the scenes. This is sort of what happens before the meeting, because there's a lot that happens the week prior. So basically, after every meeting, after every Wednesday, I, as Vice President of Education, I send out the email to the whole group and I let everyone know who is going to be the Toastmaster for next week, and also the roles that are already taken and the roles that are still available. So from that point on, it's the role of the members and of the Toastmaster to communicate back and forth. So if you're the Toastmaster, you're going to be receiving emails from members who are going to be signing up for roles, or maybe they're going to let you know that they can't make it next week. They had already signed up for something and they're not going to be able to fulfill that role. So that's going to be some changes to the agenda. And then also as Toastmaster, you're going to be picking out the theme for the meeting. And the theme can be based on anything. It could be seasonal. It could be based on the story that you want to share with the club. That's how I like to pick my theme. But hopefully you have decided on what the theme is going to be by about Saturday, and that way you can send out another email to the group, let everybody know what the theme is, and also any changes that have been made to the roles or to the agenda. And the grammarian and the table topics master will need to know what the theme is so they can base their role around the theme. So that's why hopefully by Saturday you have that all figured out and have sent out that email. And you could do that prior as well. Whenever it seems appropriate, go ahead and send out an email to the members. The email address that you will be sending the email to everyone in the club is members@gonewildtm.org. Now, if you need to send an email to an individual member, say one of the speakers has not gotten back to you or confirmed that they're going to be speaking, you can find their email address on the Gone Wild Toastmasters website. It's gonewildtm.org, and I'm going to show you where that is in the member directory in just a few minutes. So after you've figured out the theme and you've receive some changes to the agenda or receive some signups on the agenda, you'll usually be receiving the speaker's information on Monday and maybe Tuesday morning at the latest. The speakers are going to be sending you their introduction, their speech title, and their project number. Now write all of that information down on a note card. That's what I like to use, or you could use a piece of paper. You're not expected to memorize the introduction and the speech information, but you will need to practice it. You should practice it before the day of the meeting. When you're a speaker and you have someone who's introducing you and gives a great introduction, it just makes the speaker that much more powerful in the club, in the meeting. So make sure you put some effort into reading the introduction, but again, you're not expected to memorize it. And include the speech information on the agenda, the speech title and the project number. Put that information on the agenda too. All right, so you're going to want to print 12 agendas. That's usually about the number of members that we have at a meeting. And you're also going to want to print 12 of the evaluation form sheets. There's about 3 to 4 evaluation forms on each piece of paper, and we usually do 3 speeches, so print 12 of those. If you do forget, we do have some extras in the box that the Sergeant of Arms brings up. There's some extra evaluation forms there if you forget or if you need some more, and there's also scissors in there so you can cut the evaluation forms there at the meeting. And print all of this information up on Tuesday. Print out the agendas on Tuesday, print the evaluation forms so that you're not rushing when it comes to Wednesday, the day of the meeting. All right, the day of the meeting. You're going to want to arrive at least 15 minutes beforehand so you can help set up the room, help the Sergeant of Arms get the room coordinated, and make sure that the room is set up if someone is going to be speaking and using the TV, for example, that all the chairs are positioned facing the TV. Then at 12 o'clock, you want to make sure that the meeting gets started. Now, it is the job of the Sergeant at Arms to do this, and usually this goes off without a hitch. But just keep in mind that you are ultimately responsible for the timeliness of the meeting. So if you do need to go remind the Sergeant of Arms that it's 12 o'clock, then go ahead and do so. Then the Sergeant at Arms is going to introduce you. After the Sergeant at Arms does their part, then you're going to be introduced. And at this point you can share a 1 to 2 minute short story about why you chose the theme, or a story that you have that goes along with the theme. And then you're going to introduce the functionaries. Then after that, you basically follow the agenda. It's pretty simple. You're going to follow the speakers, make sure that you're organized and that you have their information in order, and the speaker's information in order, so that the meeting goes smoothly. And also lead the applause. When you are introducing the speaker, lead the applause, stand up at the front of the room, wait for the speaker to approach the front and shake their hand. Now, I also like to find out from the speaker if they're going to be using the podium. I like to know that beforehand, so I'm not asking them as they get to the front of the room, and that just seems more awkward to me. So you can ask that in the emails that you are communicating with the speakers before the meeting, or you could, if you forget, you could ask them before the meeting, on Wednesday. Hopefully there's a few minutes beforehand that you can ask the speakers if you need to. All right, so after the speech is done, you want to lead the applause, and then you're going to ask for 1 minute from the timer for our evaluations to do. And then you're going to introduce the next speakers, continue following the agenda. You'll introduce the table topics, and you're also going to be making sure that the table topics portion is not running over. So if the speeches were long, you're going to have to cut the table topics portion short, and let the table topics master know this. Usually by 12:45, that's when the table topics portion should end and the general evaluation portion will begin. So keep an eye on the clock. After the general evaluator does their portion, they're going to be introducing the functionaries. So you kind of have a little bit of a breather for a few minutes there. Then you're going to be reintroduced back to the front of the room, And you can conclude, if there are a few minutes left, you can conclude the meeting with wrapping up the theme of the day, another maybe short story that you have to share if there's time. And also allow for a minute or 2 minutes at the end of the meeting for the president, or if the president is absent, the VPE, to conclude the meeting with any club business. It's also a good idea to ask the president or the VPE before the meeting if there's going to be any business. And usually if there is, we will let you know. The president and VPE will let the Toastmaster know that they need to save 2 minutes or 5 minutes at the end of the meeting so that they can address the members. Other than that, if there is no business to conclude, then you can go ahead and ask the guests if they have any feedback. Stand up for 30 seconds and let us know what their favorite part of the meeting was, or if they're going to be coming back to the meeting. And then you can conclude the meeting by hitting the gavel on the podium, and the meeting's over. So I know that was a lot, but after you've been a member for many meetings, you will have already witnessed this routine, and it's pretty much the same one over and over, and it doesn't have to be perfect. Just go up there and try. Now I want to show you the gonewildtm.org website, where you can find out the member directory for email addresses, and also download the agenda, the evaluation form, and the handy Toastmasters checklist. All right, so here is the website that you can go to, gonewildtm.org. Then you're going to come down to member login. Go ahead and type your name, and your login information should pop up. There we go. Enter your password. Give it a minute. Okay, here we go. So here's the private member directory. You'll click here to find the individual email addresses if you need to contact someone individually. And then you're going to go to member downloads, and this is where you will find your resources for the Toastmaster role. They're going to be down here listed under Toastmaster. There's the Toastmaster checklist. That's going to have, let me pull it up, this information here. It's basically a recap of the video before the meeting, things that you need to keep in mind, and then during the meeting, things that you need to keep in mind. Then you're going to have the agenda. The agenda, when I pull it up on my computer, I have Microsoft Word. It doesn't show up the right way. It shows up like this. But when I pull it up in my Google Docs, I can get it to line up correctly and it looks fine. If you can't, for some reason, if it just is too much of a headache for you to get this to look appropriate, that is totally fine. You don't need to have the same looking agenda, but do try to include this, the president information, the roles of the officers on the agenda somewhere, the time that it starts, the websites, and information like that, so that if we have any guests that, they can see this information and they have a better idea. All right, and then the speech evaluation forms. Now, we do have this one here. It's the very basic form, but if you want to choose another evaluation form, there are some here. There's another one, speech feedback form here that you could use instead. And that is basically, that's it. All right, I hope you found this video helpful. If you need any help along the way, just feel free to reach out to me and ask me questions. I'm usually pretty available on my email and will respond quickly to you. And I'm here to help. But just remember that every week We need someone to step up to be the Toastmaster. So don't be afraid to do it. Don't be afraid to take on the role. It is a big role, but when you follow the systems in place, hopefully that will make it much more manageable and much less scary for you to take on the role. Hope to see you in the club next week. Bye-bye.